We have 6.
Yeah.
I don't think we need
It's a long story. I'll explain later.
We have 6.
We have 6.
We have 6.
You're right.
All right. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Let's see. We have some old business to take care of. The new chamber technology. Why would new chamber technology be under old business? Because it's new chamber technology. It's not old chamber technology.
that might need to be moved to new business, but
Okay, that's fine.
I would think that it's old because it was probably approved a while ago before my time.
All
But
right.
as we've all noticed, there's a new TV in there for the new screen in the chamber for presentations.
Is that all you needed to tell us?
Which one is new?
The one
There's
nearest
one
us.
that's new.
The one that doesn't work in the back?
It's the really, well, actually, there's several new ones. So there's the really large screen on the side that is 100 something, however big it is. There's that really large one. Back in the gallery area, we have new televisions back there as well.
I saw that this last time.
And the screen that is on the south side wall and on the east wall are not new, but I have requested ITS look into what the cost would be to replace those and put in larger screens. Have that cost at some point in the future, but I was very clear to not purchase them yet. Just let's look at see what the cost is to see if it's something that we can do, because I think everybody would benefit from having larger screens up there to look at as well.
And of those screens, isn't one supposed to be in English and the other one's supposed to be in Spanish?
So in the back of the room, there are 3 screens. There's the one that we can't really see because it's behind the column, but the 2 screens that we can see, I think the one that sits behind Councilman Porterfield has Spanish closed captioning that runs on it.
Okay, I knew one of them.
One of them does, and I think it's that one.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay.
I think sometimes if you're in the far back, you can't, the one on the front side and the front, tough. So, I mean, you could almost put one on the back side of the other one so that you're in back, you can just turn around and see what's going on a little bit. I'm an old guy and I can't see as well as I used to, but realistically, we can't see most of those screens.
Hopefully the really large one on the west side, the north
Maybe-
side of the room,
The new one.
Okay, maybe I have
really
it.
big one.
Can we put one right in front of Councilman Druffel so you can see
Can
this?
I have my own?
It would
I have a-
Can we get it to display on our desk?
It would be neat if they would display on the desks. I don't think that the tablet system is set up to do.
That's fine. I
I'd
don't
like the
know.
tablet to work first.
Okay.
Yeah, do we know what happened the other night when it wouldn't work?
That's the first time I've seen Austin's done.
Oh, yeah, when his went down, yeah, I don't know what happened.
Slade told me today that he's been working with Granicus and they're supposed to be in looking at it today. I don't know if they did after Leadership Nashville, but I'm trying to find out what happened.
Do you all think it's worth having Granicus come to one of these meetings and just talk to them? It breaks down enough where we have problems and then things don't work. I've always wondered why it takes so long from the time we say, votes are in, you're like waiting for 30 seconds before it shows up, and then it shows up in different places. It just seems like probably for as much as we're putting into a system.
What would be the purpose of them coming to explain? I would rather see the issues resolved. I don't need for them to explain to me.
Yeah, I think the question is, obviously we've had discussions with Granicus or with ITS before about things that haven't worked, when the screens break down or we can't take votes or there's a problem with a particular machine. So we've done that. I'd just like to make sure that if we've got issues with it, we bring the source to us and we say, you need to fix this.
Would this be appropriate to do in Government Operations Committee?
You could do it that way. It affects all of us, but I don't know. That's the part that bothers me when you hit when we're waiting for the votes and it takes a little while. It's like these machines should be pretty quick. But then also having the fact that, you're waiting and then somebody can't vote because their machine is messed up.
Yeah, we just signed another contract for them too, did we not?
That was for a different thing, though, that was not related to this software. They do different things within Metro.
But if they can't do one thing well, then why would we sign a contract for them to do something else?
I wonder too, thank you. I was trying to pull up one of the attachments for one of the zoning during the public hearing, and it was a lot of megabytes, and I was trying to pull it up on that instead of, so I was doing something else on my laptop, and it never did load either. So that makes me wonder, is it the software, the hardware, the Wi-Fi? And I'd imagine it's going to be one of these.
That caused all the problems the other night just by trying to.
I shouldn't have come back.
No, we wanted to come back. Don't pull up any things that require pulling up the data. Yeah.
And is there a way that we can see if the functionality can be expanded? Like, we need a search feature on there. If you have the agenda pulled up, you're looking for an agenda item, you have to scroll, all the way down. It's not very user-friendly to that regard, and it's not always as easy to get the attachments to pull up. So if you're not using your paper agenda and you're solely using the laptop, I don't know if we can maybe have it where a mouse can also be attached, because the touch screen doesn't seem to always work.
So further down on the agenda, we have some training offerings, and one of those is the training on the touchpad on your desks. And so, and I don't know that this is going to fix that problem, because I'm not sure about that. But Slade has offered to come in before the next council meeting, while you might not be in committees or something, and offer some quick training to anyone who wants to have it then. If that's insufficient for people, then we can have a special separate training session, but he has offered to do that.
I don't think it's training or user error.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's something that the system needs to be able to do. I know how to use the system.
Okay.
It's just, but I will attend it to see if I'm missing something.
And I don't know if it operates that way now or not, because I don't.
No, I miss.
I was just going to say, I think all this stuff is, and we probably all have things that we can think about, but we're not going to solve that here, and maybe sending Margaret a list of things to
that's a good
include
idea.
at that meeting, and when we have them on site as well as IT.
I could keep, with ITS to see, what their relationship is, and if they may be able to solve it without it needing to come before the committee, and this committee or that committee, whichever.
Do you mind taking it up and running with it? And I would also, I like the idea of if people, well, two things. One, if people are having some trouble, they ought to let Margaret know so you can deal with it, okay? But the second thing is, if you're running into a situation where you're going like, why can't I use a mouse on some of this stuff? Or why, I'd like to see this component added. Maybe we can get it, maybe we can't. But we might as well be improving the system as we go. Not only as we're trying to clean up some of the problems, but also trying to improve the system as well. So we'll leave it to Councilmember Benedict to kind of move with it and work with Margaret on it. Okay.
If we can first just ask this committee to send your suggestions, your requests to Director Darby, and then you and I can meet, and I'll bring Keith in and see what we can do. Thank you.
All right. Anything else on new chamber technology? Language services. Obviously, we've been trying to. We've made sure we have an interpreter in the back. We have the television with Spanish going through, and then if you looked at the last agenda, we actually had the language on the agenda in Spanish. Other stuff that were. Yeah.
So for public comment period on the meetings where we don't have otherwise public hearings, we have allowed people now to say whether they need some language interpretation services when they're signing up for it. So that's available. And then something that is being investigated by ITS again is the creation of a Spanish channel so that people can have not just the closed captioning, but actually, I think the Spanish interpretation on an extra MNN channel. And they're looking at, whether to spend the money on that encoder and how much that would cost.
Okay.
And when you're saying a Spanish channel, would that be for everything or just our council meeting?
I believe believe it's for everything. I can check on that, but I believe that they're talking about doing another MNN channel and making it all Spanish.
So would it have the same programming that's on one of our other channels, only it's in Spanish?
I believe so.
So it would be a mirror image, it would just be Spanish?
I believe so.
Who's looking at doing this?
ITS.
Okay.
ITS/MNN, you know.
I mean, I could see, I like that, but I also, might be a little bit late, but I don't know if you could, if you could broadcast a council meeting and have somebody translate what's going on, what's being said. But it would be several days late. The meeting would already be held. But if people were interested in watching it, you could actually watch it and have it in Spanish or in other languages, I guess.
And one of the reasons I question that is I watch everything with closed caption. I have very bad hearing, even with my hearing aids. So I've just gotten used to it. I always have closed caption on. And I know when you choose your closed caption, you can choose the language. So I'm wondering if we need another channel, if they're watching it on television, and they can just choose.
I think that they're also doing an investigation right now, or a study to see how much the different the streaming and the MNN is used, and what people are watching, to see what is most needed and utilized.
I mean, if we need to, I certainly want to make things as accessible as possible, but I also don't want to spend money on something if there's a solution that doesn't cause it. Because we can then spend that money to maybe having another language presented at a council meeting. More trying to balance being open to all.
And I think that what they're looking at about the Spanish channel is the television channel. It's not the streaming YouTube, where you can choose the language that you want closed caption on. So.
I believe all of this came about as the result of was it the Human Services Committee?
Human Services.
You were there for that, right? Tom, you were there. Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that a lot of us were
Because
there.
we had
So
looked
this
at.
is great. So that the progress is okay. I wanted to make sure that that's what we've already been looking at this. Okay, cool. Thank you.
And Kurdish was the next language that we were looking
Okay,
at.
cool. Thank you.
That's why it's under old business.
All right,
Got it.
all business. Councilor Allen, I all of a sudden realized what your logo was. Do you need to get back to? Do you want to go ahead and talk now? And I think you may be next anyway. Okay.
Yeah, so that's great. Thank you for that opportunity. So a while back, the vice mayor created a special committee, among many of the others, to look at creating a council code of decorum, civility, behavior, whatever you want to call it. And the group met. It consisted of present and past council members, including Councilmember Withers and Johnston and Vercher, and Eileen Behan and Phil Ponder, and a couple other folks whose names are escaping me at the moment. But good group, past and present. And we went and looked at what other cities have done, what other civic organizations recommend, and even cities in other countries had done. And then sort of worked through the draft that was sent out to you earlier and that you now have a copy of today, that deals largely with kind of language in general and things like dress in the council and behavior and electronic communications, because that's I think an issue where we intersect with the public and with each other as well. And then finally, just to come up with an accountability measure to say if people are not, adhering to this and may not be aware that their behavior is negative, what's the measure for trying to correct behavior that's not optimal or that's not complementary to the council, or that shows the general public that we respect them and the people that we're working with. So I don't know if y'all had a chance to read through this. If you want to study it and talk about it at the next meeting, but our goal would be ultimately to have this added as an appendix to the rules. And just simply, the rules already say that we need to behave, and I think you can simply say, as spelled out in attachment A or whatever. This came before a previous executive committee, and at that point, one of the things that we hadn't worked out was the accountability measure, and that executive, and we had initially started with putting all this in the hands of the vice mayor, and that didn't quite you don't really have power to do anything. You can't unelect any council members or whatever. So it ultimately came back at the suggestion of a previous executive committee to simply say, try to work it out amongst council members if there's inappropriate behavior, and if that is not effective, then there's a mechanism to send something in writing to, I redirected it to you, I hope that's okay, so that you could then send it to the mayor, who could then bring it up before this body, so that a body of fellow council members, could say, yes, that was inappropriate, or no, in the heat of discussion, your passion comes through, but we don't think it's an issue. And then ultimately, all we've said is then a letter of censure or, I think
Concern?
Yeah.
Is there a
Letter of
progressive
concern or
policy,
censure.
maybe?
Yeah, initially it just says if appropriate, council members try to work it out through positive communication. If not, send the letter, and then either there's a letter of concern or censure.
And maybe in terms of, if you coach, been in management forever, and if you do it in a very progressive way, it becomes very subtle, and then as it continues, you do it a little bit more severe. So
Yeah.
possibly you would do something similar. So you do verbal first one, and then suspension.
Okay, so maybe to add
So
that.
maybe add a progression so that someone all of a sudden has a little bit more recognition, then you got another step of recognition of concern. I think that could work. And
Yeah.
then someone that does it consistently after that point clearly knows what they're doing.
Good point. I'll let him run.
Sure.
Personally, I think that if there is no way of enforcing any type of misconduct, I don't really see the purpose of this. We all are adults, and we should come in this position knowing that there are certain rules and regulations and expectations of us as being leaders. I also think that the vice mayor is the leader of this council, and he has the purview in order to maintain the decorum in his meeting. And when it is violated, I believe that it should be in your purview to address it, and whether you tolerate it or not. And I think if you do that in a forceful and consistent manner, you will probably not see this, but I find it kind of condescending that I gotta have rules to tell me how it is that I am supposed to conduct myself as an adult and an elected official. And
Well, I think it's.
I really just think it boils down to leadership.
Well, it goes back this goes back a couple of years when I asked Berkeley to step in, when it was both behavior on the floor and outside the floor, particularly when we were in pandemic mode and people were corresponding and saying things on camera that were inappropriate. And I thought it had sort of gone away, but at that point, the idea was, wait a minute, the only rule, as far as I know, that's in our rules of procedure about decorum says that you can't bring food or drink onto the floor, which we violate probably anyway. So the idea was other cities have I think it's a code of conduct, and then it's a civility statement. And at that point, it's like, well, why? What's the harm in passing something that says we should act appropriate? Now, there's probably two groups. Well, there's three groups that have some type of authority over bad behavior. One is the group that you're representing. And if you have to run again and you're acting inappropriately, then the voters of your district can vote you out of office. But in the meantime, as the vice mayor, the authority that I can certainly, through a tone of voice, say you need to stop, and then click the microphone off and turn you off. But that doesn't mean that I still can't hear you yelling. The only other powers that I think I have is that I can strip you of a chairmanship chairmanship if you're a chairman, or I can strip you of a committee and just take you off the committee. And that has been utilized before. The only other group that can do something about it, I think, is the body itself can then censor and just say enough. Or, send a message in different ways to that person that it's not going to be tolerated. I'll get to you in just a minute, Delisha. I agree with you in some ways in the sense that we are responsible adults. We got elected to this office. We are elected officials, and we represent people in Nashville. And we should act appropriately. But we've had some people that haven't. And in some ways, the request of this group was to come up with something where you could say, it's in the rules. You are in violation of the rules, instead of trying to hit on the decorum thing that says.
But if there's no enforcement of it, all we have are words on paper again. It's nothing that will affect the change that we want to see.
Well, okay, so, and we may not be able to work this out today, but what powers would you give, and who would you give it to? Again, you can give it to me, and then you have to rely on the vice mayor to actually exercise it, but the only powers that I have are to take somebody off of a committee.
Or could you not tell security, escort this person off the floor? If it gets to that point, I think that if you act in terms of the violation, if you do it one time, I think everybody else will follow. I think that it is, when you supervise people, it's similarly to parenting. And unfortunately, it's parenting or supervising adults. But you have to utilize that authority that has been granted you through the election of you being the vice mayor. And I think that if you set that tone, just by the way that you manage a meeting, I believe is the way you will have people respond to you. So if you allow it the first time, then you're going to see it again, and you will see it from more than one individual. But if you don't allow it, I think it basically squashes.
Okay. Let me go to Councilmember Porterfield, and then I'll go to Councilmember Allen. Good point. I get it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I agree with many points from Councilwoman Hurt. Council Lady Sepulveda and I attended some of those. We weren't on the committee, but we were very interested in this, and we attended some of those meetings and shared some feedback and shared some concerns. A few things, the tools that we have now, the body can censure, that is a tool. You mentioned removing people from committees. The hope would be, if it came to that you would have a conversation with that individual to let them know that there were concerns prior to removing them from a committee, blindsiding them, not knowing that there was a concern. So the hope would be that you would have that conversation first. One thing that came up was what is appropriate and who determines appropriate, because I distinctly remember a conversation around attire, and someone felt that women shouldn't be able to wear sleeveless shirts during a council meeting, and there were other people that felt that didn't make it in here, but I'm just giving you the perspective. What's appropriate to one person may not be appropriate to another person. Saying respectful language, what I consider respectful, what Councilmember Druffel considers respectful, may be two totally different things. So I think that will add a layer of complexity. Conversations do get heated from time to time. We're talking about very big issues. People get passionate about the things that we talk about. I watch old council meetings often, because a lot of times when I'm looking at legislation and I remember the council had something similar, 10 years ago, and I'll go back and watch some of these old council meetings on YouTube, and there are times when bodies before us, someone may have had a spat on the floor. It doesn't happen often, and I don't think it happens often with our body. I think that we are possibly creating a solution to a problem that doesn't exist, that could then create additional problems. So respectfully, and I know y'all worked very, very hard on this. I know y'all worked so hard on this, but respectfully, I agree with Councilmember Hurt, and I believe if a person is acting inappropriately, the community can choose not to reelect them. The community can also choose to recall them. Vice Mayor can have a conversation with them prior to removing them from a committee. The body can censure them. So I do think that there can be an ethics complaint. I think that there are some steps that we have now without creating additional rules for the body, respectfully.
Thank you. And I appreciate the input, and a lot of that input was reflected in changes that have been made here. And I understand the concerns about creating a solution to a problem that doesn't exist, and I'll let the Vice Mayor again sort of lead us through discussion on if that problem exists or not. I'll say a couple of things. One, yes, the citizens have the option of removing or recalling, but that can be a 2 or 3 or 4 year process, for someone who may be a repeat offender of bad behavior. I mean, I think this council is generally cordial to each other, and I appreciate that. There are moments when I will say not necessarily. And again, because we talked about cultural differences, we changed that to profanity, derogatory remarks, or hate speech will not be tolerated. So we've tried to narrow it down into things that do not reflect well or that don't show our citizens that we're focusing on good relationships. And to be clear, section number 222 in our Metro rules talks about ethics, but that is strictly limited to things related to financial influence of decision making. It doesn't say anything about decorum or civility or behavior. And so to me, that's a little bit of a gap that doesn't need the same level of officialness, but League of Cities has has guidance on this. There are other cities that have documents that say this, so we're not pioneering this or anything. But that the mechanisms that Section 222 give us for unethical behavior are those same tools of a letter of censure, or it ultimately goes to a request of resignation, and I don't know that that's appropriate for this body to do if somebody just has a hissy fit on the floor or whatever. But I mean, in some sense, I think we are following the precedent that's set in the section on ethics up to a certain point. I think your suggestion about adding kind of a sequence of things could certainly be expanded from the 2 steps that I've got there. So anyway, I appreciate the opportunity.
Let me get Councilmember Benedict, and then I'll come back to that.
Yes, Vice Mayor. So respectfully to all parties, I think that if today the Vice Mayor is the person who is accountable for maintaining decorum of the body, I'd rather give him rules to roll by than just allow him free, whatever he wants to do. So I think that, to some degree, even though this is restrictive potentially to us, it also allows, it outlines directly how things should, especially if on that accountability piece, again, I respectfully to everybody, it would make it easier for you to probably not make what anyone could consider a bad decision. It also could make it easier for you to make a good decision, right? And it also would give us a level set of what the expectation is, and if somebody's treated differently than somebody else, I think that we now would have some clear guidelines. I think expectations set are expectations met, and I agree that we're adults and we shouldn't need any of this, but if we're going to be accountable to if whoever's going to implement and police something, and take somebody off a committee or, move towards censoring, well, I guess that's our own thing, but if the Vice Mayor has to take action against this, I'd much rather it be clear how that action is going to be taken, and that it's, instituted fairly, equitably throughout the body, rather than just, being as artful as he would like to be. And then these go into the rules, and the next, rules committee may say, we don't want that in the rules anymore. And, that might, I guess.
Well, and some of this, we're coming to an end of a term, and we have to, the new council will come up with its own set of rules. I think we're trying to figure out is if the only rules of decorum in our current rules is don't bring food onto the floor, is it appropriate to say, you should, act professionally on the floor, and at least you've got a rule to cite to. If you bang the gavel and say, I'm not going to tolerate that.
And I think it gives you the opportunity to have a clear, hey, we've all agreed that we're not going to do this, and and I think it could go through
Sign
that
off on when you start.
accountability.
Yeah.
You guys? I'm sorry, Gloria was first.
Yeah, there are a couple of things. One, there is no common sense. I think we have to forget saying, okay, we're all adults and we're all professional, because what one person thinks is appropriate, like you were talking about whether you show your arms or not, or another may be very different. So I agree that with Emily, that if we do have some rules, then we at least have come to some agreement, and that doesn't leave it to the vice mayor to feel like, am I overstepping, am I not, because there are some guidelines in the progression. And I think we all have witnessed some behavior on the floor that is just not acceptable, whether it be language or a variety of things. One of my pet peeves is because I sit in the back of the room. Now, you're not loud. You don't giggle a lot, but there's a lot that goes around me that's having
I want to know about it.
there's a lot that's having a party, and it's all on screen. And I hear from constituents, what was so funny? These folks were, I think we forget that if we're not the person talking, we still may be on camera. And that affects badly on all of us, because then it kind of goes back to whether people think we're really working or we just think this is a club. Okay. And so I do think that it's very appropriate for us to look at this and come to not such restrictive rules that you're inhibiting natural expression, but at least some minimal guidelines. But I agree with Sharon that we have to define some consequence to that, whether that be the gavel gets banged and we say so-and-so, or just say in general we need to quiet it down, or whether that is a letter or that is a meeting. I don't think that we need to just throw this aside. I think this is something that maybe takes a little bit more involvement. But I would like to see us have a few, it doesn't have to be onerous, but at least a few basic guidelines.
Let me go to Tom and then I'll come back to you.
Yeah, I think there is a value for this, and by all means, Councilor Porterfield, I mean, there's no doubt that you got to have some, but I think a new person coming in, like how am I supposed to dress, how am I supposed to act, having some perspective, and we all come from different places, but I think there's value to at least understand what we expect as a professional. Two is, I do agree, if you cannot follow through in terms of some accountability, and I think that needs to come from the vice mayor, is, and I think we do it in a progressive way, in a very mild. What I found is in coaching people, if you have to do it the second or third time, they're doing it on purpose, and there is an issue. So if you do it in a very mild, verbal reprimand, you do it in a progressive way. I think there would add value. I'm hoping that we wouldn't have to do that often, but I just think there's something to know what your expectations are. When you go into a new job, your expectation is this is how you dress, this is how you act. And so, yeah, I think there's accountability, and I think it has to be mild until you get to censorship. But by that time, someone knows they're doing something absolutely wrong. That's my perspective.
Councilor Merhart?
Again, we have generational differences in terms of dress, and you don't wear that. I mean, Jackie O wore suits, a hat, and gloves. Michelle Obama wore sleeveless dresses, and she wore them very well. So it's a difference in 1965 and 2015. But what doesn't change is the single source of accountability. And I know I grew up, and I was in the junior ROTC in high school for 5 years. And there was a line sergeant, a staff sergeant, a platoon commander, and so forth and so on. There is a line of hierarchy. Now, when we came on this council, we had a council member who ended up resigning. And the issues of his violation didn't have anything to do with the council. And the things that were addressed was not addressed on the council floor. It was addressed with him outside of the council floor, and he ended up resigning. So I believe that all of those things can be handled. And I think that you are the president of this body, like ministers are the leaders of their churches. We have leaders in leadership positions for a reason. And if there's a single source of accountability, and I understand, and even now, parents, they hear what their children have to say. My mother did not hear what the children had to say, and she didn't say anything. She just, you knew exactly what to do. So things have changed, and we get that and understand that. But again, I believe, and if we have to put it as a part of our oath, because whatever we put it and how we put it, like Councilmember Porterfield said on the floor Tuesday, unintended consequences can occur. And you don't know it, and I just think that we making this much more complicated than what it should be.
Well, again, I brought it up. This goes back a couple of years, and I appreciate the work of Berkeley's committee and the former council members. It was at a time, it's gotten better, but it was at a time where this was not going very well, and I may have talked to you about it, but when people were at home, I could see everybody. First of all, I thought everybody could be seen on camera, on television, but I think it was just me. I could see what everybody was doing. And some of it was questionable sometimes. And then I realized that it wasn't on television, but I could see it. And because I was the only one who could actually, besides probably the people in the control room, I could see it. I just didn't say anything. But it then kind of spilled over when people started using obscenities and calling other people names and other things like that. And it's like, that is totally inappropriate. And it was at that point, and there was another aspect to it. And that is, as you've listened to me over the last couple of years, trying to promote civility with an idea of, watching what's going on in Washington, watching sometimes what goes up on the Hill here, but then also watching what was going on here. It was like, we're going to push back. We're going to try to respect each other. And if it needs a civility statement, let's get one and show that we're going to put it on paper. I totally agree with you from the standpoint that we should be responsible adults and we should act that way. But so are the people that we send to Washington. They should be responsible adults as well.
And now we've normalized a lot of that behavior and activity.
I think if a leader is leading and the leader wants this in place, then that's what the leader's looking to do. And that's what I'm hearing as the result of this.
Yeah, I saw a need, and it was like, let's go. Now, if we're not quite, we're not ready to, probably tonight to do anything, but I will tell you this, whoever is the vice mayor, whoever takes over next time, if it's me or somebody else, with a new set of rules, maybe some new sets of decorum needs to be in there. Or, if not that, I didn't realize that we were going to have some of these problems. Maybe I was naive, but I didn't see all this stuff coming. I did see that pattern from Washington coming down through the states, and it was like, we're going to push back. We're going to try to behave. And then when it got into the chamber, at that point it was like trying to deal with it, trying to get it back out of there. Should we have said at the orientation of the new council, this this will not be tolerated. Bad language, bad behavior, speaking ill will of each other. You can argue your legislation on the floor. You can get upset. You can be passionate about your stuff. But if you cross over the line and you start treating people poorly or derogatory, we're not going to do that here, and I will cut you off. I never said that at the beginning because I had been on the council for a long time, and that really had not happened all that much. There used to be a time, Sharon, particularly when if someone came to the back, this was really strange. When somebody would come at a public hearing and they would say something bad about a council member, the council would rise up and go after the individual because they were protecting each other. Now it's like, bring it on. It's a lot different than it used to be. And we have to change with the times. But we can change with the times, but still make this a body that people can be proud of. Okay. Yeah.
So I appreciate all the work that's gone into this. I think that this works better with a new count, like at the beginning of a term.
Yeah.
So that so as you set the tone from the beginning, everybody can be on the same page. I think that implementing something like this now seems like a jab at certain people on the council, because we all know, and we have different perspectives. Some things that bother some people may not bother others, but there are some things that probably stand out. And so, to implement something like this now, I don't think reins in anybody. I think it probably makes them double down. And this is who I am as a person, and I've been this way for 3 years now. So I don't think it gets us to where we want to be as far as the civility is concerned or changing behaviors. I think this works better at the beginning of a term, setting the tone.
And you may be right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's fine for us to talk about.
Yeah.
I do think it's a little late in the term. But again, with all due respect, this goes back a couple years. This is not, we're doing this right now because of something that happened. Right. We're doing this from a couple years ago when I got nervous that things were kind of out of control. Mm-hmm. And I was having trouble. It's like we're the rules that allow me to bang the gavel or do something to somebody if they're acting terribly inappropriate. And it's like, don't bring that food onto the floor. That's it. So the idea was to come up with something. But I think that discussion is good. And it may be that we do it in the rules next time, or at least try. Yeah.
Thank you. The last thing I want to say, because I don't want to beat a dead horse, I agree with Councilwoman Toombs as well. I just really want to make sure that we leave space for something that you said, Vice Mayor, like the times are changing, and what is appropriate for one group may not always feel appropriate for another group. So, there are people that feel like the council meetings are not accessible because, they listening in on the council meetings, sometimes it sounds like a lot of legalese and a lot of just everyday people don't know the rules and the decorum, I would say, of the council. And my fear is when the people elect someone. Now, it's one thing if you paint yourself to be this person and you get elected and then you get up here and now you're cussing and doing all this other stuff. Okay, that person's completely out of order. But if people elect, and I don't know, so just for this person's not running for council right now, so this is not what I'm saying. I just want to give an example, right? You know who Odessa Kelly is. You know how Odessa talks. If you elect Odessa, you are expecting Odessa to be Odessa. So if you elect that person into this body and then say, you can't do this, this, and this, that's not fair to the people that elected them when they knew who they were elected. Now, if that person runs as eloquent Council Lady Toombs, and then they get up here and they turn into an Odessa, that's different, right? But you don't want to silence the voice of the people that elected this person. So that's one concern.
Very well said.
Thank you. My other concern is just that we have to be able to talk to each other. Like we're a body. We've served together for 3 years. Like, Councilwoman Hauser, if we're loud behind you, let us know. I don't think you've ever said anything about need being loud. And sometimes we do laugh. Like, we're there since 3 o'clock. Like, there's so much stress built into the work that we do on council. We're leaving our jobs early. We're coming here. We get constituent calls and emails. People are cussing us out. Like, when we get here, that is a couple of hours to spend some time in the community with the only other 39 people in this 700,000 member city that understands, because this group of people are the only people that understand what it's like to get cussed out over something that you have no control over. And sometimes Sandra and I may laugh at something, or another council member may come from around there and say something to Tanaka and we think it's funny, or say something to Brandon or whatever. Not to say that people are just sitting there goofing off, because we shouldn't be goofing off, but I don't think anybody sits, for 6 hours without any joy or laughter. So if any of us, and I don't think it's me, but maybe it is, but if any of us around there are too loud, just hey, we can't hear.
And sometimes you have to do it to make sure you don't go and hit somebody too.
We need to put this in the rules.
Yeah, that hitting thing needs to, no hitting on the floor.
But the fact, I think we forget, because we are kind of, it's all on the camera.
And that's true, but I'm going to be quiet after this. But I really believe the most effective thing that happened during my 2 terms was Justice for Jacquees. When they came in and demanded for their voices to be heard, what it did is sparked a community oversight board. When we came together and created that board, worked together, it was a motion. It was just a beautiful thing, and exactly how the council was supposed to act, how we were supposed to work together, how we made sure that we created a diverse board that represented every aspect of this city. And that board reflected this city. But it took some adversity to bring the good out of it. And that's why I believe when Councilmember Porterfield talked about not silencing the voices, we have to work through it. And a lot of times it is. And I too agree. One of the most confusing times for me was the Jackson Law. So you had Councilmember Leonardo and Councilmember Roden, both who are attorneys, basically sitting here litigating on the floor, and it was way above the average person's level of understanding when it came to the legal aspects of it. And we gotten away from that. It used to be the council members were representatives of the community, and they came in and represented the interests of the people for whom they represented. Now we see so much more than what it used to be. So again, that single source accountability, I believe, is very important. And I too agree with Councilmember Toombs is that these kinds of things, and they probably should be updated, just like our charter and a lot of the other rules that we have that describes what it is that we should or should not do.
Well, so very good conversation. I think nothing has to be done tonight, obviously. I would say, and it does bring up a point, and I don't think we did this, because you were talking about the resignation of the council member was our first term together, not this term.
Right. And a lot of that happened behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. I think one of the things that, and I think Councilmember Murphy may be, with Chairman of Rules, may eventually do this, but before this group gets out of here for this term, it might be helpful to say, go back and look at the rules and tell us what you would change, what you would keep, suggestions to things. Now, it's a whole new body coming in. They don't have to listen to any of it. But if you get new members in and they're going like, we'll adopt whatever, maybe a good time to review some of the rules, because we get stuck. I mean, we look at the rules and go, why is that in there still? Or what happened to the old rule and why did it come out and it's caused us a problem? So part of it is just taking the time to go back and make sure we've got this stuff right. And I don't think we're trying to, certainly you want to have voices heard, but you're trying to run a body that has 40 people and you're trying to make sure that everybody gets heard, but in a way that is sensible, I guess. Yeah, sure.
As the vice mayor, who is in the enforcement role, basically, I think as we're going through this, one of the questions is what would be helpful to the vice mayor, so that as Emily Benedict said, everything isn't willy-nilly. You're not just making up the rules as you go. But I think in this discussion, one of the things that'd be helpful to go back to the committee is what the person in that seat as vice mayor needs to be able to feel that they've got the authority, they've got the understanding or whatever of the body to proceed in whatever manner you feel that should go.
Well, and this is going to take a longer conversation. I'll give
I
you.
think that is very key, though.
Yeah.
Because we don't need to create something that has no purpose, that's just
Well,
words.
obviously,
But if there's something that would be valuable to the vice mayor so that the vice mayor could feel that they have some legs to stand on, so to speak. That would
Can
be
we ask Rosie? She's seen several.
Rosie's only been here for, 10, 15 years. She probably doesn't know. Rosie, I mean,
In the parking.
Rosie, what do you think? I mean, you got any ideas about how you?
Well, what have you seen over the years? How the roles have been conducted? I mean, to name.
Well, I will tell a little, it's been about 30 years ago.
Do we turn this off, Rosie?
Yeah, turn it off. Vice Mayor Scobie was strict, and he banged the gavel pretty good. So I was over there next to the wall, and Ludie Wallace had called me over there, and he said, come here. And so I go over there, and I bend over, and he said, he was asking me to do something, and he said, I said, like that. And I said, what'd you say? And he goes, I said. So then Mr. Scobie banged the gavel and scared the, out of me. And he said, Miss Hayes, at the time I was Shacklet, he said, will you take your conversation outside, please? I could just feel the heat rising because I had nothing to do with the problem. I was just trying to help the council member. He didn't tolerate a lot of stuff, and so he sort of was tough, and he knew when he banged the gavel, you knew you had to be, act right. So, and then Miss Neighbors was like that too. She was very tough. Matter of fact, she didn't care whether you didn't like her or not. She ran a tight ship. She told you, yeah. And she had an eye. I love her to death, but she had the eye to look at you like, and you knew that. And so I don't know. I just know that some of them have been stronger, at the gavel, and some of them haven't. So.
And maybe I'm not strong enough at the. I mean, I know that. I know how Diane Neighbors ran that meeting, and I don't think I wanted to get there. I mean, now I will say this: I understood that most of her meetings ended about 8:30.
That's right.
I was like,
Oh, we like that.
yeah, and I was going, but she would also.
But the agendas were shorter then too. It wasn't as many legislative items.
So, but she also wouldn't tolerate questions sometimes.
That's right. You're doing committee work. You should.
Yeah, if you're in the committee, you need to ask those questions. In committee, bam, your microphone's off.
Things are different.
I don't, you're talking about trying not to cut off discussion. Well, maybe you couldn't get to the committee, or maybe it wasn't your committee, or maybe you had a committee conflict. I don't want to stop the discussion on that. I try to be careful with the banging of the gavel, but I also know that the council, this is a different type of council, and I may hit the gavel, or if I told Rosie to step outside if she's having a conversation, I might get overruled by the council and say Rosie can do whatever she wants to do.
This courthouse.
Rosie built this courthouse, so you're
Name the courthouse after you, Ms. Rosie.
That's right.
It's you're trying to balance it out. It can get tricky at times, as you know, you're just trying to do something. Now, go back and then we'll need to move on. But
Yeah, I'm going to have to leave early. One
but
of
this is a good
my
conversation.
clients passed away, and I.
No, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Well, so State House, the chairman, and this is something that we should always consider, the chairman of those committees up there have some power. First of all, they can kill legislation. They can not put legislation on calendars, things that we may not want to do. But those chairmen have power, and they're not going to do things contrary to the ruling of the body, or sometimes contrary to the ruling of the speaker, because they want to be chairman. That's powerful. Our chairmanships don't, as much as it's nice to be a chairman, there's not a lot of power. You all can't control legislation. You're reporting out on what the committee does.
Is that because we are more of a mayoral run
It's just the way it's
government as
you could
opposed to?
switch it, but it's just the way the process works here. Up there, it's a different process, and the chairmen have more power to get on certain committees. Is very important, and so people tend to behave a little bit better because they know they can quickly be removed from a position of more power. And that's just the way it works up there. Here, if I moved you off of a committee, you might get really mad at me. That's fine.
You did.
Well, there we go. Okay, did I ask you first? Sorry. You give me that look. But then you can come back and ask the exact same questions on the floor, and you may not vote in the committee. Big deal in the committee. If the committee votes the bill down 3-6, it's still going to show up on the floor that night, and we're still going to talk about it. It's just a different process. And so I take you off of that committee. It's like you go, well, I don't care. I'll just vote against it, or I'll do something on the floor that makes it even more difficult for him. It's a different process. There's a lot to be learned from this. It's a really good discussion. We should continue it again. I'm sorry about your client, but we probably need to go on. But this is the type of thing that before this group gets out of here for this term, we may want to have a longer discussion. Now, I don't know if I want to have all 40 people in the room because we'll never get anything, but people who are interested in fixing things that have bothered you or whatever, we ought to talk about those.
You may want to, Vice Mayor, float it out to the council and add to and just say, here's what we're considering. Send me notes on what you're I think you could get maybe that.
I'm really of the opinion that we really hit it over here on the nail on the head, I think, which is things have changed. We're in the middle of this. We're towards the end of this term. I think it's a great thing to include an orientation, and I think it's important to, again, set the expectation and then make sure that people feel included. I think that the 3 comments that y'all made were spot on to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest doing it for this one. I would just say, hey, what would you recommend for the next council from our experience? Just what you're suggesting, as Council Lady Toombs had suggested. Hey, what can we pass on as advice in terms of decorum? And I think that way
right?
people would.
That's kind of what orientation is, right? It's advice for everybody that's coming in.
Well, and that's also, and I know you have to get out of here, but again, the orientation was put together this last time by both the council office and myself, and we were trying to get to issues and other things. Looking back, I'd do it completely different this time. I would go away from the issues. You'll learn those. I would spend the time focused on how the body process works, and how do you when you come up here and there's 100 people out in the room because there haven't been enough community meetings or whatever, and everybody's yelling at each other, and it puts you all as a council in a spot where you're going like, I'm going to get yelled at by both sides. It's like, everybody has responsibilities. How should this process work? It doesn't work all the time the way you want it to, but how does it work? What did we learn, and what do you need to know as a new council member to get to get started and get moving.
I think this is a great exercise, but I do think that that's the great conclusion to it.
Yeah,
And I think this is
And I think this, things you learn along the way.
that's right. What we learn and what can we pass on? So, and I have to go 6:45.
All right.
My special needs sign up.
Okay, so people need to go.
6:45.
That was a good. We're going to go through some of this, but is there anything on here that we should talk about before everybody tries to get out of here?
If we could skip down to what I think is an important part is letter F.
Okay, the weekly newsletter.
This idea of a weekly newsletter. One of the things that came up out of the survey responses that we've received thus far is people, council members want content to be able to send out in their own newsletters. And I have been looking at some other council websites from other cities and kind of seeing what they do. And I kind of thought about doing this concept where we utilize one of the Granicus platforms, which is Gov Delivery, I think is what it's called, and send out weekly newsletters that would include that calendar of events that Rosie sends out to everybody. So that goes in there. Links to the agenda or the analysis, whatever has recently transpired in that week.
It's gotten better. I really appreciate the ease. It's a little bit more user-friendly.
But then also I wanted to, and this is what I really need to get some feedback on, is to send out some blurbs about upcoming significant legislation. It could be something that's on the next agenda, or that's we're putting a link to, or something that is working its way through the council right now. The most important thing here, though, is that in order for me to be comfortable sending that out to the public from the council office, that we have some sort of very specific parameters that we operate within about what is significant legislation. So, and I'm thinking, fiscal impact, some sort of level of fiscal impact. I don't know, is it going to have a $10 million impact one way or the other? We're paying 10 or we're getting 10, whatever that is. Maybe some sort of operations impact. I can't think of one of those right now, or something that's kind of a county-wide impact, like the parking agreement that we just approved this week.
Elimination of emissions testing.
Eliminate something like that. So something that's broader in nature, not something that's focused in one district. I think all the district council members already have a good idea of what's going on in their district. The idea here is that, one, it notifies everybody on the council plus anybody who wants to get this particular newsletter. But it also provides council members with some content that you can pull, like kind of cut and paste, and put into your own newsletter to send out if you want, because your own newsletters are not something that we can, draft for you or control, because it's typically
I like the idea.
campaign.
I'm sorry.
I love the idea. I love that it's weekly. One thing that I would add would possibly be, I say this loosely, a recap of the council meeting, but I say that in a very loose way because I know a council meeting is forever. But to your point, significant legislation, if we had, 3 or 4 really big items like parking and, some of those really big things is going to impact the district, just a couple of sentences, not going into this council member said that, this council member said that, but just, this was the concern, this was the outcome or something like that. I think it would be very helpful to get that on a weekly basis so that we can include them in our newsletters. I definitely think this is a great idea, and I appreciate the work that y'all do to make sure that we have the agendas and the schedules and all of the work that y'all do to kind of help keep us on track is very appreciated.
Yeah, and I totally agree, Council. The other thing is the pre-work sometimes, I think a lot of us have a couple of jobs, and so you get it, and so if you don't have time to funnel through there, you don't, but if you could bring that to our attention and the impact, that would help me, and I usually try to get some kind of comment from others, so that would help me get there quicker. Trying to do it with just a few days is really tough, because then I'll get a bunch of emails. So anyhow, that really will help us a lot. So I think it's a great idea.
Is this a newsletter that would go directly to our constituents, or it would come to us for us to push out?
It would be coming from the council office. It would be going to you. I don't know if we would also want to, I feel like we would also want to send it to other departments, because is, the upcoming agenda, significant legislation, and the calendar of events. And, we're open to suggestions for
Brush pickup, like links to NDOT, links to different departments, for instance, something like that. That's static, that's just there.
something that's in there all the time. Yeah. So that sort of thing. And then it's, of course, all of the content in there would be available for you to, if you wanted to just forward it out to your list or something, or if you wanted to cut and paste and put in your specific newsletters, however you want to do it. I just wanted to provide that.
That'd be a huge help.
I really like the idea of giving a specific language related to certain things, because like when a group wants me to put something in my newsletter, say, well, send me the exact text that you want in there, because I don't want to interpret.
We're still way up there.
Trying to interpret your event, you tell me exactly what you want.
We're looking into that.
All right, it's a good idea. So are you going to take a stab at maybe a draft and then kind of?
So I have Matt Purvis, who hopefully you all have met by this point. I have him looking into how this particular platform works, and he's going to kind of do a mock-up for me to see how we can play around with it and see what it kind of looks like. I'm kind of excited about it. I think it would be kind of neat for our office to do. And then, but are we good with the parameters around the significant legislation? Because I know this group isn't going to get back together.
Can we do like another Google sheet with the survey responses to say, hey, this works, or we'd love to see this or that?
That could be a little subjective, when you talk about the parameters. Again, what's important to you or what you all may see, it may not be what I or others may see.
And so that's why, while we use the word significant, I don't want to rely just on that word to describe it. I want to have some parameters in there, and I want them to be very objective parameters. So it's legislation that it has a $10 million or higher fiscal impact, something like that. So if there's something that's $900,000 or $9 million, it doesn't go in there, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If someone says, why wasn't this in there? And I said, well, it's because it has a $9 million fiscal.
And you could say citywide impact, or and I think you'll find out within. I'm sorry, I jump in. You're such a good teacher because you follow the rules. I know you're always great. I always love it because I teach and I love people that raise their hand. You're going to get within probably 2 months. You're going to get a general consensus from the feedback. Councilor Hurt might go, this is the kind of stuff, and you're going to start to get a feel of what you need to do to adjust.
Try it on for size.
Well, so then what I would suggest, I just kind of pulled the $10 million number out of thin air. That doesn't have to be the number. It was just a suggestion, and I'm open to any suggestions like that, but I really would like to keep our office from making those judgment calls and having some very
Can
specific
you make a judgment call to start, and then we'll give you feedback if it's bad or good?
Start with 10.
I think 10 million sounds right. I think to me 10 million sounds right. So I think that's okay for me. It's coming to us. It's not like it's going straight out anyway. We get to review it. Pick the criteria, and if we don't like it,
that's right.
give us an opportunity to give you feedback anonymously or through a Google sheet or something.
Delisha, you had your hand up first, but
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I think a great litmus test is if the body has more than 10 minutes of conversation on it, it's probably something that needs to be included, because most things just breeze through, right? Not including, if there's playful banter between Freddie and Vice Mayor, but, other than that, like if it's 10 minutes of conversation, I would say throw it on there, because it's something that we felt important enough that we pulled it off and we talked about it.
You all know what we're, and I'll pick on Tom. Tom may get one of those new sewer manhole things, and that may be so important to him. It's taken him 10 years to get it, and he's going like, I want that in the newsletter. It's like, no.
This newsletter.
Nothing might, sir.
No sanitary manhole.
So what you're trying to do is protect the staff so that not everybody, all 40 of you don't come in, or 39 of you come in and go, I want my bill in there. It's like, you got a sewer manhole cover. It's like that's what you're trying to do is you're trying to limit it to so that not everybody's coming in and they're going like, well, my bill was important too. It's like, well, I know that.
Have we given you enough cover to just make?
Yeah, I think Councilmember Benedict had great point. It's just coming to us, so we can always add more.
You add more to your newsletter.
Yeah, more, yeah.
You'll get feedback almost immediately, and then boom, within a month.
Are we ever quiet?
Yeah.
That's nice.
It's just another tool
What else
to
do you
help
have?
our jobs.
All right, so do you want to talk, I know people have to go, is there something else? I wanted to talk real quickly about safety policy, okay? I know Rosie's been looking at it, I know this is on film, but, with the world the way it is, and obviously we mentioned the Pelosi situation the other day, everybody needs to be careful, we may be a local body, but people do get mad at us a lot.
Okay, yes, I had to get escorted to my car after a meeting the other day. So.
Yeah, so you have to be careful. But what we're trying to do is figure out if there's some other things that we should do security-wise, just in the chamber itself. And
I think that shooter training, like I mentioned, I'm not
that's
sure.
on here, this active shooter.
Who would have guessed? We got training from the FBI at St. Henry, and I never would have guessed that you're supposed to all rush the shooter and throw things at him at the same time. Because if you sit and you're waiting, this is the FBI. If you're sitting and wait, they're just going to come shoot you. They just go through the cues and experiences anyhow. But if everybody rushes and throws things, most of them cannot shoot accurately. Anyhow, those are the kind of things I don't think we would have normally guessed.
I think that active shooter
I know
training,
that
I'd
sounds
imagine
really
that
weird,
was
right?
Taught in our schools. I would imagine that we already have the software through HR. I think we just add it for council to do, in my opinion. And then I think the idea of badging everybody that comes on the floor is a great idea.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
When you say badging everybody,
So press, and then, anybody that belongs in the chamber on the floor has a Metro badge, has a, like a Metro badge or a press
What about
badge.
back in this area?
No, on the floor.
Oh, yeah, back here's a different story. Yeah, card access and such.
And technically, this area closes for council meetings, but it doesn't lock. It's not card key access, and I don't think, and we talked about this, I don't think there's a card key access outside of the double doors, the glass doors.
There is. No, there's not. Okay.
And so that's, I mean.
Can we add that?
It's something that I
close
want
that
to
door right
explore.
here.
We can close the door by the elevators.
Right, and that is activated with your
And
key.
that does have the card
But so
key.
if a council member goes to the bathroom, they need to take their key, because that happened to me 2 meetings ago, and I left my badge inside there, and I don't think I had my cell phone, so I was locked out
I think
until
you'd be
somebody
King
came out.
Gloria.
look at the chamber, as much as we love it. That swinging door doesn't provide much protection. I mean, if you're in the back of the body and you want to.
Correct.
You
We
may,
got the
whether you
closest.
have a badge or not, that swinging door, it'll take you about a half a second to learn how to push it, and then you're on the floor. And so the question is, look, I mean, this was not an issue years ago, but I think it's something that groups have to at least consider these days, as to whether we need something additional. Now, I don't want to advocate for all
Everybody's
kinds of
still going
stuff.
through the metal detectors, right?
Yeah, we still no weapons allowed.
People are still going through the metal detectors, but the question I think we asked Rosie to take a look at was, we have one security guard in there. Do we need several more security guards? Do we need something else that makes people feel more?
What would be?
You didn't have your hand up. Berkeley, and then come
Thank you. No, that's good.
Berkeley.
I'm gonna do a delete.
Could we first explore, what is the response time for policemen who are downtown? Or could they have somebody on call who could come in at a moment's notice? Could the guys from downstairs run up really quickly? I would hate to arm us up in anticipation of stuff, just continue this arms escalation. I would also hate for, the event to happen and then we go, oh, shoot, we should have. But, maybe if we can explore what backups are available quickly today, and if the folks downstairs could be part of that, and then the wider police force downtown be part of that before we go crazy.
Quante, and Tom, then Quante, and then Rosie.
Okay, just a quick note. It wouldn't hurt sometimes with the bigger groups to have a second person back in the crowd. I would put them at the very far back so they could see forward. The police officer who is always very good is looking, but you can't really see what's going on in the deep back. And every now and then I'll glance and you can see some angry people, and they seem to sometimes be in the back. So maybe
Sometimes they're you all in.
yeah. But just a possibility of, if you had like up 4 hours and you just have someone in back, I think there's a value. That person can see what is really the crowd's concerns. Anyhow, just a thought.
No, this is all good. We're just taking it in Quante, and then I'll go to Rosie.
I don't think we need additional officers in the chamber. I think that, because we have security at the bottom, those are officers, right? They're not just regular.
Are they security?
So, we have officers down on the first floor, so if something were to happen, I would hope that they would come up and assist.
But let's find out, is there a line of communication established? Can we?
Is there?
It goes to the screening to come up to mess it in anyway, right?
Right.
There's just more anticipation.
I mean, is it a problem today?
I mean, someone
I
can.
mean, have we, and I know we want to be prepared in
I
case.
don't think you would.
We don't have a problem.
Well, right.
You can see where there's.
We want to take some steps. Just
Think about all the scoops you can never had.
You can go before me.
I just want to give an anecdote of something that happened several years ago, and I can't remember exactly what year it was that it happened, but and not that it was a dangerous situation, but it could have been. There were a group of people, and I want to. It was like a march or something like that. And there were a group of people, and it was during the day, and they came into the courthouse, and there were so many of them that the security guards couldn't stop them. And so they just let them into the courthouse, and they came in, and it was not that. It wasn't a violent group. It wasn't anything like that. I think they came, as a matter of fact, I think they came in and kind of sat around the first floor and banged on the floor and had chants and stuff like that. It was kind of a sit-in type thing. But the fact remains that the security couldn't stop them from coming in because of the sheer number of people. And so we don't have, not that that's going to happen all the time, but that is something that has happened. And kind of to your point, Council Lady Toombs, like you don't want to wait until that's an armed group coming, So anyway, that's just my 2 cents, little anecdote.
I'll go to Delisha, and then I'll go to Rosie.
Before I give my thoughts, Vice Mayor, does that mint belong to someone that's on the table right there? May I have
I
it?
gave it to Brad.
Brett, may I have it, please?
I was almost going to grab it, but I thought you might want it.
I've been eyeing it for a while now. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So a couple of things. One, I think the thing that would be probably most helpful to us all, what I think is more likely to happen than an insurrection, we should know how to properly exit the building in case of a fire. Like there are 40 members on that body. There's, all of the administration. It's at least 100 people in that room. And if there's a fire, we're all running for the same door. So like if you're in a school system, there is a plan. If you're in these classrooms, you leave out of this door. If you're in these classrooms, you leave out of this door. So maybe we need an exit strategy of, this part of the chamber on up, come out of this door. Maybe where Councilmember Sepulveda and I are sitting and our friends right here, maybe they need to go out the door right beside us. The galley goes.
Alicia, I think you should be the trainer. In motions down.
So I think
Get the vest.
I think that that would
Vest in your drawer.
Yeah, right. So I think that would be more likely to be something that we would actually need. I think that another thing that may be beneficial is sometimes people are coming up, and I know like sometimes we have our children with us and stuff, so sometimes we're coming up, and I may have my daughter. Last meeting, Councilmember Hancock had her child, so sometimes we do have somebody with us, right? But sometimes as we're coming in and out, maybe media is on the elevator, and sometimes it's other people that's not with us that are just like, oh, we're gonna, kind of sneak a ride, we're gonna hitchhike a ride with y'all. Maybe that is something that we want to, because if they're coming in through here, they're not going through security. Everyone else is going through security. So I feel pretty confident that if they're going through security, they're going through a metal detector, that, it's probably likely that they don't have any weapons. But if somebody is kind of sneaking in with us, then they didn't actually go through security. So maybe just limiting that to council members and staff and whoever they personally are escorting with them, but not allowing other hitchhikers. And then the last thing that I would say on this is that we have to be really mindful when So we used to teach de-escalation to teachers, right? And if a child or anyone is irate, if you raise your voice, they're going to raise their voice, and it's going to keep escalating. And the way that you de-escalate is if someone is raising their voice and you start speaking softer, they're going to naturally start speaking softer as well. So what we have to, in our last meeting Tuesday, there was a gentleman that was like kind of making some noise or whatever. And I think, Vice Mayor, I think you banged your gavel or whatever. And like when our security goes and says something to people who've like never been to a council meeting before, they don't know our decorum, and we do something they don't know, that's going to make them escalate, you know. But if security can say like, hey, I'm sorry, you can't do that, you know, I think, and maybe I'm naive, but I think that will make people more likely to calm down. Just in my experience of being trained in de-escalation, that is something that may be able, if we continue, if we add more to Councilmember Allen's point, like if we're continuing to ramp up on having more people and more armed and things like that, that makes it feel more of a contentious situation. People then come looking for a fight because they know that we're treating them as though it's going to be a fight. So I think that we just have to keep that in mind.
Well, I think it's a good point. One of the things when you were talking about it, I was thinking, do we have any signage up in the chamber that says, no yelling, no throwing, no whatever. You know, the reason every meeting I go through on the public hearing and go through it is that people understand what they're supposed to do. Now, what you didn't see, or you may have seen it, was after we finished the public hearing on Councilmember Hall's bill, one of the gentlemen that spoke, after I'd banged said the public hearing's closed and Councilmember Hall is speaking, he raised his hand. And, you know, first of all, that throws me when they do that, because it's like,
what are you doing?
At the public hearing. And then I'm going like, you know, I think I may have said, you know, public hearing's closed or something, but then somebody started yelling back there.
Yeah, I heard them.
And I banged the gavel because that's what I'm sort of trained to do, is to bang the gavel. You know, maybe I need to add something to the initial thing and say, you know, you can't yell don't yell at us when we're talking. I mean, or do we want people to yell at us when we're talking? I don't think so.
Do we have a decorum handout when people arrive, you know, or if you're going to, I mean, or sort of posted somewhere, something, you know, not a handout, but somewhere posted, like how it works together.
Maybe posted. Yeah. And I don't think you were wrong, and I want to make sure I wasn't saying you were wrong for banging, Vice Mayor. I was sitting in the back. We hear everything behind us, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't think you were wrong for banging. I remember the instance where people had the signs, and the signs got taken away, and it was a big miscommunication. And sometimes when people are coming in very passionate about an issue, people feel silenced when those things are happening. So I just think that whatever we choose to do, we just need to make sure that we're handling it in a way that allows us to conduct the business that we need to conduct, but also so that we're not accidentally escalating.
But we're trying to be careful. And, you know, I've allowed a lot more than I think some of the other vice mayors have allowed, at least through my training. You know, people aren't supposed to be cheering. They're not supposed to be booing. They're not supposed to have signs. The sign issue, I let it go. And we never asked them to take the signs. And the police officer came in and did it. And they were fine. They were silent. And it wasn't causing any disturbance. It's like, that's okay. And I let people applaud and cheer in the back on something. I don't let people boo, you know, or try to disrupt. And I also don't let people vote from the back, you know, because that's not allowed. You can't do that. And it throws off. It's like, there's a lot of no's on that. It sounds like a lot of no's are coming from the back. You know, people know better. They should not be trying to vote.
But it does need to be posted. I totally agree. If you don't know you're not supposed to do something, you might do it thinking that's okay.
Well, maybe
Post it in a
so.
sign that looks nice, that looks like it's decorum.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's not just an 8.5 by 11 up here are the
Right.
rules. If it actually is something that looks like, here's how you act when you come in here, because just like we're saying about us and our conduct, let's help folks be successful with how they engage with their government.
Or even a 5-second when Vice Mayor is explaining how public hearing works. It could be as simple as we ask that you don't cheer or boo when individuals are talking. And it makes it very hard to hear in the chamber when the back of the chamber is vocal. So we ask that you do not yell or boo in the chamber. I mean, it could be one
That's
simple.
a good idea too. It's just another 10-second blurb in
Yeah.
the decorum.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to our Councilmember Hayes over here. So we had asked you to take a look at whether there's some other things that we should consider. And again, I don't want to make a big deal of this, but we do want to make sure people are protected, including people who have come to the chamber.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we've got safety standards in place, because we're not just talking about ourselves, we're talking about people, young children, other things. We want to make sure we've got proper safeguards in place.
Yes, correct. On the active shooter, it also involves the de-escalation training too as well, because that is a big, that's exactly what she said was correct, because you can talk to people a different way, and police officers can do that and can set the tone real quick. One of the things that we've got going on in the chamber is that the police officer cannot do a whole lot unless the vice mayor sort of says, and I didn't realize this, unless he says, tell them, remove them from the chamber. They want to set a rules themselves from you guys, like rules rules for the chamber. And so I had met with the legal department, police department, and sheriff's office a couple of years ago, talking about what we can do legally, and I've had said something to Ms. Darby about it too, that we set up a set of rules for the chamber for that purpose, and we can put decorum in there too as well. But the police department needs to know what to do too. They'll do whatever you ask them to do. They do have a chain of command. They have somebody on standby if something was to happen. Immediately, the people in the courthouse get notified. Also, the people outside the courthouse get notified. So it's not a problem with them knowing what's going on. Because if they have people, sometimes if we had, like when we had a whole bunch of people here during it was during the fairground thing, we had 3 floors of people up here. Yeah, and we had cops everywhere, just not thinking there's going to be anything bad happening, but we just didn't want anything happening.
Crowd control,
But
at least.
nobody saw them. They didn't know, that anybody was there. And so that's what they do. And sometimes they've been on the 3rd floor when we've had large crowds here, but nobody knew it, or 4th floor or whatever. And so they're close by just in case. So that's not a problem. But we need to do that. And then we did this at the first of not this past time, but the time before, we did the active shooter. We did the fire department, where they came in and showed us how to get out of the building. And then they also put I forgot what they call those things, like when you have to use it in emergency situations back here, just for that purpose in case we needed it. And I even have a stretcher in our office, so a temporary stretcher. So I just wanted to do all of that and have it ready for, we can do it now, and then we can do it when the next class comes in, or the next group comes in, just so that I want to keep it in a rotation so that y'all are all, up and up on the safety part of it.
I think that's important because we, you know that you're not supposed to use an elevator when there's a fire, right? But in the moment, you may forget. And I use those stairs over there about 2 or 3 meetings ago for the first time, and I couldn't figure out, because it was kind of complicated when you got to the bottom. It's like a gate or something. It was something weird, you know. So I think that a lot of people may not have used those stairs, so we don't want to be in an emergency. I was up here. I think you may remember, Ms. Rosie. I was up here when a tornado came through one time, and I was in the council office, and I was by myself, and the tornado was, or some real bad storm, and we were scared the electricity was gonna go out, and I'm calling Ms. Rosie, freaking out, because I'm like, I'm scared to go in the elevator. Do I go down the stairs? Like, what do I need to do? So I think that it is good for us, the current body, to get that training, and then the next body gets the training so that they can be prepared.
Yeah, you might get it twice if you.
Yeah.
Well, that's but
okay.
I totally agree. You know, if you take a look at trying to get 60, 80 people down out of those chambers, and they all go toward the elevator, and if you just read some of the craziness, I'm in the hotel business, and those are the kind of issues you got to really make sure that people are distributed. So the back, maybe 2 rows would then go out the side doors. I think you're absolutely right, because you just don't know what's going to happen.
The other thing that we closed the door a couple of meetings ago because we had a lot of people up here and we didn't have the security. He usually stands at the door, so we closed it to keep from people coming back here. But we were looking at maybe putting there's no lock on the outside door out there, so we can't lock that up, but it would mean that everybody would have to have a card key access, and that doesn't, y'all are not affected by it, but other people like department heads or assistants or something like that. So we'd have to give them access to the back here. We have a lot of people roaming back here, and it's not good, especially if there's young people that are back here that, you know, your siblings or whatever, you know, whatever. So we wanted to look at another way of either putting a card key on the outside or a card key, giving people card key access. So once that meeting starts at 6:30, no one's allowed back here other than people that can gain access back here. And so I'm open to whatever you want me to look at, but I would like to do something about that, because you don't see it as much, but because you're on the floor, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. I know you met with the sheriff's office and the police department and maybe general services, but would they consider taking another stroll around and giving you some real concrete suggestions about what to do? Because we can come up with all kinds of stuff. Some of it may make sense, some of it may not. But if it's a card key access back here and the door gets shut at 6:15 or 6:30 right when the meeting starts, or do we need another police officer at that door, or what makes the most sense? Walk around and talk to them and see what they think we ought to do. All we're doing is kind of updating. We haven't updated in a long time. We ought to update and make sure we have some semblance of sense going on about what we should do, and then maybe bring it to the next meeting, and then we try to figure out. Then we kind of throw out the ideas, and people go, "Yeah, that makes sense," or "No, that we don't want to do that."
Okay.
Goes back to the days of Ludi Wallace, where he wanted to put glass on the side at the old Ben West Library. It's like, well, Ludi, they'll just come around the back. And we sort of made fun of it at that point, but he actually had a point, and that is, he was right next to, people were right next to him sitting there, and all they had to do was lean over and get them. And we asked people to take them and get them out of there, but nobody wanted to.
That gate in the back there used to have a lock on it.
Really?
The little swinging gate? All you have to do is jump over it.
Date myself, but
I mean, all they have to do is flip their Lego. I mean, even as short as I am, I can.
there was some talk about having like the glass brought up, during COVID and all that, and it was going to be just extremely expensive. Then they thought about bringing it from the ceiling, but it's not really practical to do. Yeah. So.
Felicia.
2 things. I love that idea, Vice Mayor, of maybe general services coming. I would maybe add to that maybe someone from MMPD and maybe someone from the mayor's security, or just someone with security expertise to maybe kind of participate in that walkthrough to determine if there are additional safety measures that need to be taken. I think just closing that door and having the key card access should be fine. And, council members, you got to start taking your badge, and department heads would need access, and really the only department heads that are back here are, like planning, whoever's sitting at that front table. So it's not like all the department heads would need it, like the council liaisons, like, Honeysucker and all those other people, they're back here when committee and everybody's here, but then they're on the floor, so the only people that would really need it would be folks from the mayor's administration and, planning, and I just think it would only be a handful of people, and that would be free. It would be no extra money having to get an extra security guard or put an extra lock, I think it would serve the purpose.
I gotta go to INA.
Yeah, it's,
At quarter of.
it is 6:40, so we probably need to stop. Is there anything else everything else can
I
wait?
mean, the one other thing that I kind of wanted to bring up was the committee meeting schedule. And, right now on both days, Mondays and Tuesdays, committees start at 4 p.m. And we've gotten, concerns, questions about on Monday, the committees go too late, but then there's some people who can't get here earlier. And then on Tuesdays, they start at 4, and they oftentimes run right up to 6:30. And then sometimes, there's not enough time for the committees to meet because, really, a lot of them, you've got a lot of stuff on there and you only have 15 minutes. And that's because of the very limited period of time we have to put the committee. So I just wanted to put that out there to see if there was any, and I'll probably need to send an email out to all the chairs just to see if there's any other times when you would prefer to meet, and maybe let us
When
kind of
you're a
look
committee
around.
chair and you see what you got to do, like at Human Resources Service, we know it's like 5-10 minutes. I think you could maybe get it, but I totally agree, because getting off work early to come here and then having to wait an hour is really pretty rough when I know I could get more done beforehand. So I don't know if there's a way to manage it.
I think a consent agenda for each committee would be great if we could encourage the chairs to do that. And then I think the other thing is that if it's administrative, if it's from the administration and it's got to go in front of 3 committees and it's a sewer manhole, right? Like, can we get a recommendation out of one committee and not have to put that on the agenda of 2 others, unless the council member wants it on all 3? I don't know. Maybe that's too much in the weeds in preparation.
Really
but-
tricky.
I mean, all the committee, all the legislation is assigned to committee just strictly based on topic. And so, each committee oversees certain topics, and then we say, okay, well, this one has, it fits into 3 committees, so it gets assigned to 3
So I
committees.
just made a jigsaw puzzle for you, so that's no good.
It's already a jigsaw puzzle. I'll tell you.
During this
I took from
term,
500 to 1,500 pieces.
but during this term, we just went through a committee reorganization that reduced the number of committees already and consolidated a lot of them. So, I'm reluctant to go through that exercise that quickly again, because that was just like a year or so ago.
I'm not suggesting we change the committees themselves. I'm just talking about the scheduling of the meetings.
The best thing you did was move budget to the end on Monday.
Yeah.
Rather than beginning.
Before others.
Unless you're in budget, then you have to wait an hour
Yeah, so I'm
before
really
everybody
glad,
else is
because
done.
I know on the committees I was on, we would oftentimes not start till an hour later than we were supposed to because budget.
Because of budget, yeah.
So I'm really happy, and please keep budget as
But
the
planning
last
does the
one.
same thing to budget, so you're going to.
We're going to move budget to Sunday. Talisa?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Two suggestions. One, we now have that Bang the Table software. I typed in my notes Bang the Gavel, but I meant Bang the Table. Maybe we can better utilize that software to have more committee discussion on that public forum, so that when we're coming into committee meetings, there may not be as much robust discussion. Sometimes a lot of that is questions that we have for department heads or whatever. So if we use that software to kind of gather those questions prior to the meeting, then maybe we can get those answered prior to the meeting. And maybe that looks like a gentle ask to council members. The agenda comes out on this day. Please review the agenda and submit all of your questions by this day. But that could be tight depending on when the agenda comes out versus when we whatever. Because council members also have lives and jobs, so we can't always do a day turnaround. But if we could maybe encourage our colleagues to use that a little bit more. I do like the idea of the consent agenda. I also like the idea of maybe I think some of the some of the committees are using consent agendas, so maybe encouraging everyone to use the consent agenda, and looking at does the legislation need to go to multiple committees, like, the manhole point or whatever, and I think sometimes it really does.
Why don't we call it a people hole?
A what?
Instead of a manhole, why don't we, what is it, a woman hole, people hole?
No.
We're going to add 3 hours to the meeting.
That's
It's an extra syllable.
But looking to determine if the legislation really does have to go to so many, I would be very hesitant to do anything above 4 o'clock because most of us have jobs and kids, and it's already hard to get off work early, get your kids, do all of those things, and we don't want to do things that preclude working people from being able to serve on council. So looking at even with us trying to have caucus meetings and things like that, sometimes we bump into people have traffic and people are trying to get down here, and I think if we move it any earlier, we will run into that. That 15-minute window is tough, and maybe we can look at the agenda prior to and say if it's a bunch of stuff on that one, maybe they need a 20-minute.
And we do that.
Oh, they already do that? Okay.
We do that when we're scheduling. It's really just, we start at 4 o'clock every day, and that tends to run everything. On Mondays, we have the open-ended time, but on Tuesdays, sometimes it gets really tough to get
When the committee notice goes out that says, Benedict and this committee, that committee for this bill, that bill, is it possible on that to call out, if you want a letter sent to the committee, contact whoever you want to say to send the letter? I always go to Rosie, right? I don't know if you want me to announce that. I don't know who, whoever, but to put it on there so that way it can improve the consent agendas if we're going to move towards trying to do more consent agendas. Because if we get that letter, then we don't have to wait for the person or bounce from room to room. Now, that's not to say
What I'll say is that we have gone to where, even on planning, which we never used to do, but unless you tell me you want it pulled off,
It's on consent, yeah.
I'm going to approve it, because you can still, even with the planning commission, with a committee with a recommendation of approval, you as the district council, you can still defer it or vote it down or whatever on the floor. So pretty much from it, I'd love to have a letter, especially if there's an amendment that helps me to know if you're supportive of the amendment or not. But other than that, I run it either way.
Right.
Kathleen Murphy didn't, and that's because we're different chairs. But I'm just I know people are busy, love having a letter, love having it there. But otherwise, I'm going to run it because you still have control of the bill on the floor.
Smart.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love the Council Connect is the fancy name for it. I love the idea of using that, and if the chairs could recommend that to the committees to, start discussion on Council Connect and whatnot, that would be fantastic.
Log into it again. I've forgotten my training.
Yeah. If we can get a refresher reminder.
Service.
I gotta go.
All that info.
One of the other things that we made about was them having, when they have special guests and stuff.
Rosie.
Yeah, if we could just stay on the legislation that is at hand at the committee, that's been another concern, because if you have special guests come in speaking, you say, they're only going to be 10 minutes, and I've got 15 minutes allotted, and then it ends up being 25, and then that runs you over to the next meeting. Not that it's a bad thing, it's just...
The special guest sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, it sounds like a great idea, but it's really not, because it really pushes the committee to another, and then that causes a quorum, and then that, if you do all the legislation up front, I guess, that'd be fine, but then do your stuff at the end. But that still keeps the people from going to their other committees, you know what I'm saying? So we could try to keep it, do those on a special time or something like that.
If that works, that's fine.
I think that's a good idea.
Vice Mayor, I had a quick question about the travel policy addendum. Can I ask that question?
Yeah. It should be
So
attached to the
is this saying that, assuming funds are available, that for conferences, all the expenses will be paid, or are we still at that $2,000 cap from last year?
$2,000 cap.
We're at the cap. That's just saying that they'll pay for that based on the money that's available.
And the travel policy basically puts into writing what the travel policy is for council members currently. It just puts it all into writing.
It's similar, but it's a little bit different, so we want to make it right.
Okay.
But if you want to go, if you
Never thought about it.
yeah, I mean, again, it's set aside because some of these things are very, very good. The National League of Cities conferences are typically very good and very important. You learn quite a bit. You make good contacts. You learn about what other cities are doing. It's a good way to learn a lot of educational material. And it's not, this one's in Kansas City. They're typically not that expensive to go to. And if, you go to those things and you learn. But there's a number of other ones that people are learning from. And it was, we want to make sure that we're not missing out on things that we need to know. So that's what the money is there for.
Sounds good.
Yeah, okay. Thank you all. I know it's late. I know everybody has to go. Anything else, Margaret? We good?
I think that we actually covered everything except for dais equipment. If any of the chairs who use the dais want to get trained on all the equipment up there.
You need to learn to read the seating chart upside down.
What's Dias equipment?
If you're sitting up, if you're
I never heard of it.
you're sitting up front in the chamber hosting a meeting and you want to
Just wait, like when you're sitting up in my chairs.
Oh, yes, that is,
It's just the upside down seating chart that I was doing.
yeah, just trying to figure out where everybody is.
In case y'all didn't hear it, two things that came out of the conversation over here was encouraging chairs to encourage their committee to use Council Connect to ask questions and get their questions asked before committee, so that some of that conversation is having in that public forum to hopefully reduce the amount of time that we're in committee meetings. And the other suggestion was, if you're going to have a special guest at your meeting, consider a specially called meeting so that your meeting is not running over and causing people to miss their next committee meeting.
Thank you.
I want to make sure everybody heard it.
Yeah, and one of the things that we discussed last week, is that when we put things in Council Connect, there's no notification. And I think somebody was going to check the slate to see if there's somebody we would know to go look at.
I think you just have to make a time to go look at it. I don't think that they will. If you post something on there and then somebody responds to something that you post,
Then you get
a notice. But you don't get a notice when someone posts on Council Connect. And the reason is because we are using this tool a little bit differently than the way it was intended to be used, so that we can comply with the state laws. But the Bang the Table has a lot more utility than what we're actually using it for. We're exploring what the utility is. So.
And maybe we need to go back and do it. I remember I got trained on it, but it's been a while. I got to run.
All right, good to go?
Thank you.
Declare the meeting over. Boom.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank y'all for productive meeting.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.